In the silent darkness between galaxies, there are storms so violent they twist the fabric of reality itself. Storms that no eye could ever see, no instrument could truly contain, yet their echoes reach across eternity. They shape the stars, the space between them, even the thoughts within your mind. Out there, beyond the shimmer of every known light, space-time bends and breathes, alive with invisible tempests. Close your eyes for a moment. Drift away from the soft blue of Earth, past the halo of our sun, through the velvet gulf where galaxies float like islands of light. Between those islands stretches a darkness that seems empty, but it isn't. It moves. It hums. Something vast stirs beneath the calm. Every particle, every thread of existence still trembles from the memory of the first great storm, the one that began everything. Before there were stars, before there was even light, there was a restless sea of nothing trying to become something. The universe was not yet a place, it was a process, unfolding in silence and heat. Space itself was young, still figuring out what it meant to exist. Time was barely born, slipping forward in uneven breaths. In that fragile instant, the fabric of reality began to ripple. It wasn't a sound or a flash or a burst. It was more like a heartbeat, a sudden thrum in an endless void. Those first ripples were the purest chaos. Tiny fluctuations in energy expanded and stretched as space itself ballooned outward. The early universe wasn't peaceful. It churned with invisible storms, waves of pressure, turbulence in the geometry of reality. Each wave carried potential, the seeds of every future structure. Galaxies, stars, planets' life, all would someday trace their roots back to those ancient distortions. Picture a sheet of water trembling under windless air. Every ripple pushes another, spreading outward until the whole surface dances. Now replace the water with space-time itself. The wrinkles you see are not made of matter, but of existence bending in on itself, folding, stretching, stabilizing. In those wrinkles, the blueprint of everything began to form. The first seconds after the Big Bang were neither bright nor explosive in the way our human minds imagine. There was no booming detonation, no expanding sphere of fire racing into space. Space was the expansion. It grew from a size smaller than an atom to something larger than an entire galaxy in less than the blink of an eye. Within that swelling fabric, energy condensed, cooled, and began to separate into what would one day become light and matter. It's strange to think that all structure began as noise. Every cluster of galaxies was once a quiver in that early storm. Each fluctuation, perhaps no larger than the difference between one note and the next in a whisper of static, determined where gravity would later gather its strength. The quiet pulses of the primordial storm became the scaffolding of the cosmos. The universe did not begin in balance. It found balance through turbulence. Out of heat came symmetry. Out of wild expansion came order. Even now, billions of years later, those ripples can still be seen, faint and cold, imprinted on the cosmic microwave background, the afterglow of creation. What we call the sky is a fossil record of storms long vanished. Scientists often describe these early moments with mathematics, but there's something more poetic in them, something that lives beyond the numbers. In the first breath of time, chaos wasn't an enemy to order. It was its mother. The storms that tore through spacetime weren't acts of destruction, but of shaping. Like an artist's brush, every violent fluctuation carved the outlines of what reality would become. Every atom in your body carries a faint echo of those storms. The carbon that burns in your breath, the calcium that holds your bones, even the light that touches your eyes, all began as scattered dust floating through the calm that came after. The symmetry you see in snowflakes, the rhythm of waves, the orbit of moons, all are children of those first ripples. From turbulence, harmony. From disorder, form. Take a slow breath. Inhale the thought that somewhere within you lies the same vibration that once shook the newborn universe. You are not separate from the storm. You are part of its stillness. The calm that you know is what remains after unimaginable violence has finally learned to rest. Yet, perhaps rest is an illusion. For though the universe cooled, it never truly settled. The energy that once roared through spacetime only changed costume, slowed, transformed, waiting for its next act. The storms did not vanish. They condensed, gathering, concentrating, preparing to erupt again in new forms. Think of how a storm on Earth begins. Warm air rises, cold air falls, tension builds in invisible layers. For a long while, the sky looks quiet. Then, with one sudden shift, the storm remembers itself. Lightning, wind, thunder. The pattern repeats across scales far greater than our world. In the cosmos, the same memory stirs. The vast calm hides a deeper energy, one that would someday awaken inside collapsing stars, spinning galaxies, black holes. But for now, in this part of the story, we linger in the silence after the first storm. The newborn universe has stretched to unimaginable size, cooled enough for atoms to form, glowed in its first light. The chaos has not disappeared, it has crystallized into structure. The storm has sculpted the world we will one day inherit. Take a moment here. Picture that darkness, not empty, not cold, but pregnant with the promise of light. Every future sun waits there, asleep in potential. Every life form that will one day wake and wonder where it came from, all of it floats within those early ripples. There's a kind of tenderness in that realization. The most violent beginnings led to the gentlest possibilities. Violence, in its rawest form, gave birth to beauty. The storm beyond stars became the story of stars themselves. The universe does not rush. It unfolds slowly, breath by breath, aeon by aeon. The remnants of those first tempests drift still, carried on the expansion of space. We feel them not as sound, but as the quiet rhythm of existence itself. Every night sky we gaze upon is a snapshot of aftermath. Those distant pinpoints of light are the calm after creation's thunder. Yet hidden between them, in the shadows where our telescopes see only black, the echo continues. Faint, persistent, eternal. So we begin our journey here, at the edge of everything, listening to the silence that once roared. The first storm has passed, but its story continues through us, through time, through every atom that will ever exist. The universe was never still. It was only resting between tempests. And soon, as we move deeper into its story, we'll see how that restlessness gathered itself again, condensing its fury inside dying stars, folding into darkness so deep that light itself could not escape. The calm, as it turns out, was only the eye of a much greater storm. When a star dies, the universe listens. It is not the kind of silence that follows a gentle passing, but the silence that comes before something shattering, the stillness between thunder and the flash that breaks it. Across the dark, a single giant exhales for the last time, and in that breath, space-time itself trembles. The collapse of a massive star is one of nature's most violent moments, an implosion so fierce it seems to fold the laws of physics back upon themselves. Yet within that violence hides the strange tenderness of creation, for no death in the cosmos is ever truly an ending. For millions of years, the star had burned with patient brilliance, fusing hydrogen into helium, helium into heavier elements, feeding its own light. It was a quiet, steady rhythm, a balance between gravity's pull and the outward pressure of nuclear fire. That balance is the fragile secret that keeps a star alive. As long as it burns, it resists the hunger of its own weight. But one day, that fire falters. Fuel thins. The light flickers inward. In the heart of the star, gravity begins to remember what it was always meant to do. The process happens faster than thought. When the nuclear reactions can no longer support the weight pressing down from above, the core of the star collapses in on itself. Imagine an entire world, larger than the sun, heavier than anything you can picture, crushed into a sphere smaller than a city in the span of a heartbeat. The matter inside the star falls faster and faster, its atoms stripped apart, its protons and electrons forced together until even light cannot keep up. For a brief moment, the collapse stops. The core stiffens, rebounds, and slams against the infalling layers, sending a shockwave racing outward. That shock tears through the dying star, ripping it open from within. The explosion is so bright it can outshine billions of suns. To an observer light years away, the night would bloom with sudden brilliance, a second sun flaring for a few weeks before fading back to darkness. This is a supernova, the last cry of a star that once held its own against the universe. The scale of energy released is difficult to fathom. In a single instant, the star releases more power than our sun will in its entire lifetime. Waves of radiation surge through the void, hurling newly forged elements across light years. Iron, gold, carbon, oxygen, all are born in this violent crucible. The star dies, yet in its death it leaves behind the materials that will one day breathe, think, and remember. Take a slow breath. The oxygen that fills your lungs was once the breath of such a star. The calcium in your bones, the iron that colors your blood, the gold that glints on a ring or a tooth, all of it came from an ancient collapse. Long before Earth cooled from molten rock, before oceans gathered or eyes opened to the sky, stars had already died to give us the atoms of our being. There is something achingly poetic about that. Each one of us is built from the debris of ancient catastrophes. We carry their memory not in words, but in the quiet shimmer of our cells. The supernova is not only destruction, it is also an act of generosity. Through its end, the star returns its riches to the universe, scattering heavy elements into the interstellar medium, the dust and gas from which new stars will someday form. In time, gravity gathers that dust again, pulling it into new clouds, new suns, new worlds. The cycle continues, life unfolding from the remnants of what once burned bright. Creation and destruction are not opposites in the cosmos. They are steps in the same rhythm, notes in a long, slow song that never truly ends. Astronomers have watched these deaths from afar, tracing their light as it travels for thousands, sometimes millions of years before reaching our eyes. To them, each flicker is both a warning and a promise. In the afterglow of a supernova, they see the same elements that make up everything familiar. They see the bridge between what was and what could be. But beyond the beauty lies something uneasy. Not every star ends with an outward explosion. Some are too heavy, too immense to simply burn out. When such a star dies, gravity's hunger deepens into something almost unthinkable. Instead of bursting outward, the collapse continues inward, falling past every resistance, compressing until even the structure of space gives way. A boundary forms where time itself hesitates, a region where nothing can return. Before we reach that edge, pause for a moment. Picture the last stage of the collapse, not as destruction, but as surrender. The core shrinks until the atoms themselves cannot hold their shape. Neutrons, packed tighter than thought allows, form a sphere so dense that a teaspoon of its matter would weigh more than a mountain. This is the heart of a neutron star, a remnant left behind after the storm. Some of these remnants spin so fast they flash beams of radiation into the void, sweeping across space like the rhythmic pulse of a cosmic lighthouse. Each rotation is a whisper from the aftermath of death. Yet some stars go further still. Gravity pushes beyond even the neutron's defiance, tearing through the last structure that matter can offer. What remains collapses into a point of infinite density, a black hole. But that is a story waiting just beyond this one. For now, we linger in the glow of the supernova, the brief but magnificent bloom of cosmic fire. Its light travels outward for centuries, crossing silent gulfs, reaching planets and moons that may never see life but will still feel the faint warmth of its passing. Each supernova marks a moment of renewal in the grand cycle of existence. It is both funeral and genesis, both ending and birth. The universe, in its vast patience, wastes nothing. Every violent event becomes the seed of something gentle. The same explosion that tears a star apart also stirs the clouds that will birth another. From a distance, it might seem merciless. Up close, it is breathtaking in its precision. Think of this when you look at the night sky. The faint glimmer you see in the stars is not just light from distant suns, but light from endings, echoes of storms long past. Each shimmer carries the story of collapse and creation, of fire giving way to form. In those ancient deaths, everything we know found its beginning. Take another breath. The air you draw in has been through countless stars, woven and rewoven through time. You are breathing the memory of supernovas. In that small, quiet act lies the truth of cosmic continuity. Nothing is ever truly lost, only transformed. Soon we will step beyond even this into the darkness that follows when collapse refuses to stop. There, at the threshold of gravity's deepest hunger, the storm gathers once more, not to explode, but to consume. Sometimes the universe does not end its storms with fire. Sometimes it lets them fall inward into something far stranger. At the heart of certain stellar deaths lies the most extreme storm imaginable, a black hole. It begins quietly, the way most endings do. A star collapses in on itself, pulled by its own gravity until there is nothing left to resist. Then somewhere beyond the point of comprehension, the collapse doesn't stop. It falls further, faster, past the limits of matter, past every known law, until all that remains is gravity in its purest form. There is no explosion, no grand finale of light. There is only the sudden absence of it. Where once a star burned, there now exists an invisible wound in spacetime, a place where even light cannot return. From a distance, it appears serene, a black sphere floating against the background of stars. Up close, it is a tempest beyond words, a storm not of air or fire, but of geometry itself. A black hole is not an object in the usual sense. It is a region where gravity has folded space so tightly that the path forward always curves inward. Once crossed, no path leads out again. The boundary where this begins is called the event horizon, the edge of the knowable. It is not a surface one could touch, but a threshold between existence and unreachability. Nothing that crosses it can communicate back, not even light, which travels faster than anything else. From our perspective, whatever falls toward a black hole appears to slow, stretch, fade, as if time itself hesitates at the edge. Yet from within, the story continues. The infalling matter does not freeze. It rushes on, falling forever, spiraling toward the heart where space collapses to a single point, the singularity. There, the known rules of physics crumble like sand beneath a tide. The idea of the singularity has haunted scientists and poets alike. It is a place where meaning becomes uncertain, where equations yield infinities, where even the concept of place loses coherence. It's as though reality itself refuses to be described. The singularity is not simply dense, it is the absence of distance, a point where all paths converge, where time has no direction. The mind cannot picture it, yet the universe contains countless such places. Take a quiet moment to picture what happens near one of these cosmic abysses. Far from the center, the pull is faint, but as one drifts closer, gravity strengthens with terrible elegance. Space stretches, time slows. To an outside observer, a clock near the horizon ticks more and more slowly until it seems to stop entirely. The closer something falls, the slower its fall appears, until it seems frozen just above the darkness, glowing faintly, forever on the edge. But the illusion belongs only to those who watch from afar. To the falling traveler, time feels unchanged. The descent is smooth, effortless, unstoppable. It's hard to describe this without feeling a shiver, not of fear, but of awe. The black hole is not a monster lurking in the dark. It is the purest expression of gravity, the very thing that binds the cosmos together. In its extreme form, gravity no longer acts as a gentle curve, but as a whirlpool in the fabric of spacetime. The closer one drifts, the more irresistible the pull becomes, until every possible future points inward. Think of a river flowing faster as it nears a waterfall. From the shore, you see the current quicken. Leaves float toward the edge, then disappear into the mist. To them, the fall takes only moments. To you, it seems endless. Space behaves the same way near a black hole. The waterfall is not made of water, but of time itself, cascading toward a horizon from which no return is possible. What lies beyond that horizon is a question that lingers at the edge of science and imagination. Some say the singularity is a point of infinite compression, where all information is lost. Others suggest it might be a doorway, a bridge, a place where the fabric of spacetime folds back on itself. The truth remains hidden, veiled behind the curtain of the event horizon, a mystery that no signal can cross. There is something almost meditative about this idea, that the universe contains regions forever silent, places where knowledge reaches its final boundary. In a way, black holes remind us that mystery is not a flaw in our understanding, but a fundamental feature of existence. Not everything can be known. Some things must simply be felt, acknowledged, revered. The presence of a black hole transforms its surroundings. Gas and dust drawn toward it form a glowing disk, heated to millions of degrees, spinning faster than thought, radiating X-rays and light that can outshine entire galaxies. Yet within that brilliance lies an invisible core where nothing escapes. The contrast is hypnotic, radiance circling absolute darkness. The closer matter comes, the faster it whirls until friction and gravity tear it apart. The storm feeds, and the light we see is the dying breath of everything that crosses its path. Still, there is an odd calm inside the chaos. To fall into a black hole is to fall along the natural flow of spacetime. For the traveler, there is no impact, no violent crash, no awareness of crossing the event horizon. It is only afterward, in that unreachable interior, that time and space switch places. Moving forward in time becomes the same as moving deeper into the black hole. Every moment brings you closer to the center, because that is now your future. The idea stretches the mind, bending intuition as surely as gravity bends light. The black hole does not sit in space, it is space, distorted into a shape that has no outside from within. The storm is not happening somewhere, it is the structure of reality itself. There is a quiet beauty in how the universe creates such contradictions. The same gravity that gently pulls an apple to the ground can, under the right conditions, carve a hole in space-time so deep that time stops. It's a reminder of how thin the line is between peace and power, between creation and collapse. Take a slow breath and let your thoughts drift toward that darkness. Try not to fight the pull. Think of it less as destruction and more as return. Everything that falls into a black hole continues to exist in some form. Energy transformed, information hidden, gravity preserved. Even light is not lost, but folded into the storm's memory, woven into the curvature of space. The black hole, then, is not a devourer of worlds, but a keeper of them. It guards what it takes, holding it in silence beyond reach. Its surface, though invisible, glows faintly with Hawking radiation, a soft, theoretical whisper that hints nothing can last forever, not even the abyss itself. Over unimaginable ages, black holes may evaporate, fading gently into the cosmic background, releasing the secrets they once swallowed. Everything in the universe, even its most extreme creations, follows a rhythm of emergence and disappearance. The black hole is a note in that rhythm, deep and resonant, reminding us that even darkness can sing. Because in truth, black holes do not only consume, they hum with energy, with rotation, with tension. They curve the light of stars behind them, creating halos and echoes, making beauty out of distortion. They shape galaxies, control orbits, sculpt cosmic architecture. In silence, they conduct the music of gravity. So as we linger at the edge of one, watching time stretch and light bend, we might feel something unexpected. Not fear, but recognition. The pull we sense is not only physical, it is the same pull that drives stars to shine, atoms to bind, consciousness to wonder. The black hole is the universe turned inward, a reflection of its own depth. Soon we'll listen closer to these invisible storms. For in their quiet darkness, black holes do something astonishing. Sometimes they sing. In 2015, Earth trembled, not from wind or tectonic strain, but from something quieter, older, deeper, a ripple moving through the fabric of reality itself. It passed invisibly, faster than sound, softer than breath, shifting space by less than the width of an atom. Yet it carried the memory of two black holes that had collided over 1 billion years ago, somewhere far beyond the reach of light. For the first time, humanity did not simply look at the universe, it listened. The sound was not one you could hear with ears. It was a tremor recorded in the stillness, a pulse in space-time itself. Two detectors on opposite sides of the United States, twin instruments named LIGO, felt the same faint shiver, separated by milliseconds. That tiny difference confirmed something that had lived in theory for a century. Einstein's vision of a universe where gravity is not a force pulling things together, but the shape of space bending under the weight of matter. When massive bodies move, they do not just travel through space, they make space ripple. The larger and faster the motion, the stronger the ripple. Most are too small to notice, fading before they reach us. But when two black holes spiral together, their gravity grips space-time so fiercely that each orbit tears waves into existence. The closer they get, the faster they dance, until their merger sends a final surge that races outward across the cosmos. By the time such a wave reaches Earth, it is impossibly faint. Yet that faintness carries a story, a record of mass and motion, time and distance, loss and creation. From it, scientists can tell how large the black holes were, how quickly they spun, how far away their collision occurred, and how much energy they released in that final instant. The numbers are staggering. For a fraction of a second, the merging black holes can emit more power than all the stars in the observable universe combined. Then, just as suddenly, the lightless storm fades, leaving only silence and a trembling memory in the cosmic sea. The idea that space can stretch and squeeze is hard to grasp. It's like watching an ocean wave pass through the shore without water. Only the sand itself rises and falls. These waves do not move through space. They are oscillations of space. Each crest stretches the distance between things. Each trough compresses it, all without anyone noticing. You are being moved right now, as gravitational waves ripple through the galaxy, though the change is too small for any sense to detect. There's something humbling about that. The universe is constantly shifting beneath us, yet so gently we live unaware. The stillness we feel is only an illusion, a pause in the movement of spacetime. To know this is to feel connected to the cosmos in a new way, not as an observer standing apart, but as part of the rhythm itself. When scientists first translated the data from LIGO into sound, they heard a brief chirp, rising in pitch as the black holes spiraled closer, then cutting off abruptly when they merged. That chirp, lasting less than a second, echoed across the world. It was more than a discovery. It was the first note of a new kind of astronomy. Until then, we had seen the universe only through light: visible, radio, infrared, X-rays, all forms of electromagnetic radiation. But light can be blocked, absorbed, scattered. Gravity waves pass through everything. They carry information no light could ever reach. Hearing that first ripple was like standing at the edge of a vast ocean in the dark, hearing a single drop fall and realizing the entire sea is moving. Every black hole merger, every collision of neutron stars, every supernova sends waves outward. Some are strong enough for us to catch. Others slip silently past, whispering histories we cannot yet hear. The cosmos, it turns out, is full of sound, not in air, but in the pulse of gravity itself. When we listen to these waves, we are listening to time. The signals reaching us now were born before humans existed, before Earth had taken its current shape. They have traveled across billions of years, unbroken, carrying the imprint of events that reshaped galaxies. Each tremor that reaches us is a message from a universe that no longer exists in that form, the last heartbeat of stars long gone, still echoing through the dark. There is a quiet poetry in that. For centuries, humans looked up at the stars for answers. We built telescopes, collected photons, mapped constellations, and read history written in starlight. Now we have learned to sense something deeper: the shifting of the very stage on which light performs. To listen to gravitational waves is to hear the universe breathing. Its exhalations are long, slow, and ancient. Those waves do not only tell us about what is out there, they reveal something about what we are. The atoms in our bodies, born in stellar fires, now vibrate to the same cosmic rhythm. Our world, our thoughts, our lives are carried within the folds of spacetime that those ripples move through. We are part of the same song. When space stretches, we stretch. When it relaxes, so do we. Even if we never notice, the dance continues, subtle and infinite. It's strange to think that the entire planet moves in response to these distant events. The ground shifts, not because of anything within Earth, but because reality itself changes shape for an instant. In those moments, the world becomes a listening instrument. We become part of the detector, part of the experiment, part of the story. Somewhere in the darkness, two black holes continue their spiral. Each orbit grows tighter, each second more violent. The rhythm builds, faster, higher, until the final crash sends out a crescendo that ripples across space-time. Billions of years later, those ripples pass through us, through mountains and oceans, through atoms and thoughts. The music of gravity takes time to reach us, but when it does, it reminds us of how immense and fragile everything is. There is no louder silence than that which follows a gravitational wave. After the brief distortion passes, the world feels untouched, as though nothing happened. Yet, something has changed. We have witnessed a conversation between the deepest parts of the universe and ourselves. For a moment, we knew the sound of creation and collapse intertwined. Each detection since 2015 adds another note to that hidden symphony. The pattern grows richer, the harmonies more complex. Some signals come from black holes colliding, others from neutron stars, dense remnants of exploded suns spinning and crushing matter until atoms lose their meaning. Each event is unique. Each wave carries its own fingerprint. Listening to them is like hearing instruments we never knew existed, playing a song we are only beginning to understand. The beauty of it lies not just in the physics, but in the feeling it evokes. That sense of connection across impossible distances, of time stretched and folded until it touches the present. When a gravitational wave passes through, it leaves no trace, yet it changes everything we know. It proves that the universe is alive with motion, that space is not still but breathing, that we live inside something that moves like a sea. Close your eyes for a moment and think of that cosmic ocean. Somewhere, far beyond the reach of sight, storms are colliding. Gravity is singing, space is trembling in harmony. Each wave rolls outward forever, never losing itself, only softening with distance until it becomes one more pulse among countless others. To listen is to remember that we are within it, part of its rhythm, carried by its tide. For all its vastness, the universe speaks in the smallest movements. A change smaller than a proton's width can tell the story of entire galaxies. A single wave can reveal an age of violence and beauty beyond imagining. Every time we detect one, we are hearing not just the cosmos, but time itself calling across the dark. Still, not all storms roar in gravity. Some rage in light. There are flashes in the universe so brief they could be mistaken for accidents of perception. A flicker in the corner of cosmic vision, a spark gone before thought can form. Yet in those fleeting seconds, more energy is released than the sun will ever give in 10 billion years. They burn silently across space, invisible to human eyes, but fierce enough to sterilize entire worlds. These are gamma-ray bursts, the universe's most violent tempests, storms of radiation unleashed from the depths of its most massive stars. When they erupt, they outshine everything else in the sky. For a moment, a single burst can radiate more power than all the stars of a galaxy combined. No warning comes before them. No visible sign hints at their approach. Then, in a sudden convulsion, a star collapses into itself, and from its dying heart, two narrow jets of energy shoot outward at near-light speed. Those beams pierce the darkness, tearing across the interstellar void, their fury hidden within the calm surface of the cosmos. A gamma-ray burst lasts only seconds, yet those seconds contain lifetimes of destruction and rebirth. Some are born when a giant star exhausts its fuel, its core imploding into a black hole while its outer layers are blown away. Others emerge from the collision of neutron stars, those ultra-dense remnants left behind by earlier explosions. When two of them spiral together, their union unleashes a flash of pure radiation, the final breath of matter crushed beyond recognition. It's strange to think how quiet such power is. There is no sound in space, no thunder, no firestorm of wind. Only a silent beam sweeping through the dark, carrying invisible light capable of unmaking atoms. If one of these bursts occurred within our galactic neighborhood, it could strip Earth's atmosphere and bleach the surface of life from the planet. The energy is so concentrated that it bends chemistry itself, breaking molecular bonds and altering the delicate balance that sustains existence. In the early days of astronomy, these flashes puzzled scientists. They appeared suddenly, without pattern, seeming to come from random directions. For years, no one knew what they were. Military satellites designed to detect nuclear detonations first noticed them, catching bursts of gamma rays arriving from deep space. The discovery was a secret at first, a mystery too strange to classify, until it became clear that these were not human in origin. They were cosmic, ancient, vast, messages written in radiation from the most violent corners of the universe. Each burst tells a story of collapse and transformation. In the moments leading up to one, gravity wins its last battle against pressure. The core of a star, once balanced and burning, gives way under its own weight. Matter falls inward, faster and faster, until it reaches densities no atom can survive. The outer layers crash down and rebound, creating shockwaves that rip through the star's body. Out of that chaos, magnetic fields twist into funnels, focusing the dying light into narrow jets that blast outward through the star's poles. What emerges is not fire, but pure energy. Gamma rays, the most penetrating form of electromagnetic radiation known. Seen from a distance, the burst might last less than the blink of an eye. Yet in those moments, reality itself seems to distort. Space glows with invisible lightning, particles are accelerated to unimaginable speeds, and matter briefly forgets the laws that govern it. Some of these bursts are followed by afterglows, fading embers that linger for days or weeks, shining across radio, optical, and X-ray wavelengths. They are like the echo of a scream, still reverberating through time long after the voice is gone. To think that such violence can be part of creation is both terrifying and beautiful. These explosions scatter heavy elements into space, enriching galaxies with carbon, oxygen, gold. They seed the next generation of stars and planets. Every molecule in our bodies owes its existence to such storms. not in the immediate sense of a single burst, but as part of a long cosmic cycle where death feeds life. A gamma-ray burst may end one world, yet its ashes will build another. There is a theory, quiet and haunting, that one of these bursts once touched Earth. Around 440 million years ago, during the late Ordovician period, a mass extinction swept across the oceans. Nearly half of all species vanished. Some scientists believe a nearby gamma-ray burst could have been the cause, its radiation stripping away part of the ozone layer, allowing lethal ultraviolet light to flood the planet. The sky would have remained serene, no sign of danger visible, only the slow fading of life as the sun's rays turned unfiltered. It is a chilling reminder that the universe does not always announce its intentions. Sometimes the storm arrives long after the light. Yet there is something almost sacred in that fragility. Life on Earth has survived eons of cosmic peril, asteroid strikes, solar flares, bursts of radiation, each one a reminder that creation is an act of resilience. The same forces that threaten existence also enable it. The violence of a dying star becomes the warmth of another sun. The radiation that could destroy life also forges the chemistry that sustains it. In this balance of destruction and renewal, the universe reveals its strange, self-sustaining beauty. For scientists studying gamma-ray bursts, each detection is like finding a cosmic heartbeat. The data arrives as a spike of energy, a sudden signature across sensors, then fades to silence. From that signal, they can reconstruct the event's distance, its brightness, its power. Some bursts come from billions of light years away, their light older than Earth itself. By observing them, we peer into the deep past, seeing the universe as it was when galaxies were still forming. There's a quiet elegance in how something so destructive becomes a tool for understanding. Gamma-ray bursts serve as beacons, helping astronomers trace the structure of the early cosmos. Their brightness makes them visible across incredible distances, revealing how matter gathered, how stars evolved, how galaxies changed shape. Through their light, we see time stretched to its limits. To witness such a burst, even through data, is to touch the edge of the imaginable. It's to feel the pulse of a universe that never sleeps, where energy moves with the grace of inevitability, where endings are beginnings in disguise. The mind struggles to hold the scale of it, a storm powerful enough to remake a galaxy, yet brief enough to vanish between heartbeats. There is something deeply human about the attempt to comprehend it, to take chaos and find within it a pattern, a reason, a song. Perhaps that is what draws us to these storms, not their destruction, but their continuity. They remind us that everything changes form. A star becomes light, light becomes memory, memory becomes knowledge. We, too, are part of that sequence, tiny bursts of awareness in a vast expanse of time. The gamma rays that cross the void today may one day be the light that helps someone else understand what we once saw, what we once wondered. Take a breath and think about that. The universe, vast and cold, still carries echoes of these storms in every direction. Even now, detectors orbiting Earth listen for the next one, waiting for another brief spark from the deep past. Somewhere far away, a star is reaching its final moment. Its core is folding in on itself, its light tightening into invisible beams. Soon, it will send its last message across the cosmos, a burst so bright, so violent, that it will shine through the darkness long after the star has ceased to exist. But what if the storm itself had memory, an echo that stretches across time? Every night, whether we notice or not, the universe whispers. It hums in a frequency too low for our ears, too faint for our eyes, yet it fills every corner of space. It is the oldest sound, the softest light, the gentle echo of creation still cooling in the cosmic dark. This glow, the cosmic microwave background, is the aftershock of the greatest storm that ever was, the Big Bang itself. What we see now as a quiet shimmer across the sky was once a blinding sea of radiation, a storm so hot that atoms could not exist. The light we detect today has traveled for nearly 14 billion years, stretched and softened as space itself expanded until it became the faint microwave hiss that surrounds us like an ancient breath. When that first storm ended, the universe was still young, no more than a few 100,000 years old. Before then, there was no light that could travel freely. The cosmos was thick, opaque, a fog of particles trapped in a constant exchange of energy. Photons collided endlessly with matter, bouncing, scattering, unable to escape. Then, as the universe cooled, something miraculous happened. The first atoms formed. Electrons bound themselves to nuclei, light was released, and space became transparent for the first time. That light has been traveling ever since, crossing billions of years, stretched by time, faded by distance, yet still carrying the memory of its birth. To detect it is to touch the universe's first memory. The cosmic microwave background, or CMB, is not just a glow, it is a map of the early cosmos, frozen at a time when it was still a storm of energy and possibility. It spreads across the sky in every direction, astonishingly uniform, yet not perfectly so. Within its faint texture lie ripples, tiny variations in temperature, only millionths of a degree apart. Those minute differences are everything. They are the fingerprints of the first cosmic storms, the gentle imbalances that gravity would later amplify into stars, galaxies, clusters, and the great web of the universe. Looking at the CMB is like looking at the ashes of an ancient fire and finding the pattern of all that came after. Each swirl, each subtle change in brightness carries information about how matter first gathered, how space stretched, how energy flowed. It is the universe's own autobiography, written not in words, but in radiation. The story it tells is quiet yet profound, that from the chaos of expansion came order, from the roar of creation came structure, from turbulence came the seeds of everything that now exists. When scientists first detected it in 1965, it was almost by accident. Two radio engineers, Arno Penzias and Robert Wilson, were testing a large antenna in New Jersey. They kept hearing a persistent noise, a background hiss that would not go away no matter where they pointed their instrument. They cleaned, recalibrated, even chased pigeons from the antenna, thinking the mess they left behind was causing interference. But the hiss remained. What they had found, without knowing it at first, was the oldest light in existence, the relic glow of the Big Bang. In that noise was the echo of everything that ever would be. Today, satellites like COBE, DubMap, and Planck have mapped this ancient afterglow with breathtaking precision. What they show is not a uniform canvas, but a tapestry of soft variations, blue and red patches marking regions that were slightly cooler or warmer in the early universe. Those differences, though tiny, decided the fate of all structure. Where the CMB was slightly denser, gravity began to pull matter together, forming clouds that would one day become galaxies. Where it was thinner, space would expand into the vast cosmic voids. The entire architecture of the cosmos, every cluster and filament, every spiral arm and empty gulf, traces back to those subtle ripples frozen in the afterglow of creation. It is humbling to think that everything we see, the stars, the planets, the lives that unfold beneath them, owes its existence to fluctuations in a storm that ended billions of years before the first atom of life formed. Those ripples are like the faint rings left on the surface of a still pond after a stone has fallen. Time has stretched them to unimaginable scales, yet they remain, gentle records of an event that shaped all future storms. There's a kind of peace in the thought that the universe carries its own lullaby. The CMB hums in microwaves, a frequency so low it passes through us constantly without harm. It is the same signal that television antennas once mistook for static, the same faint background that fills every radio when tuned between stations. About 1% of that static you hear is the leftover echo of the Big Bang. Every time that hiss passes through the air, you are hearing the universe's first breath, softened by billions of years of expansion, still here, still singing. This quiet radiation also tells us something profound about the shape of reality. The pattern of its ripples reveals the geometry of space itself. How flat or curved it may be, how fast it expands, how much matter and energy fill it. By studying this faint afterglow, we have learned the age of the universe, the rate of its growth, even hints about its mysterious dark components, matter and energy that cannot be seen but hold everything together. From the most delicate whisper, we have drawn a map of the infinite. To gaze upon the CMB is to feel small in the most comforting way. Its light began long before there were eyes to see it, yet it waited, patiently, drifting through eons until we were ready to understand. In its soft patterns lies the memory of the cosmos as an infant, glowing with potential, unaware of what it would become. The stars had not yet been born, the galaxies had not yet spun their first arms, but within that light was the promise of everything. Sometimes, when scientists translate the CMB into sound, turning temperature variations into notes, the result is eerily soothing, a deep, resonant hum, like the slow breathing of the cosmos itself. Listening to it feels like listening to time. There's no melody, no rhythm, only the steady murmur of existence unfolding. It feels infinite, like the universe never truly stopped expanding, only slowed to a calmer pulse. Take a moment to think about that. The light that bathes the night sky, the radio waves that fill our instruments, the faint warmth that lingers between the stars, all are remnants of a single event, stretched across billions of years. We live surrounded by the residue of creation, bathed constantly in the soft glow of the beginning. The universe has never truly gone dark. Its first light still shines, hidden beneath the calm. There is a deep gentleness in the thought that the chaos of the beginning left behind something so serene. The storm that once tore through existence cooled into a whisper that now rocks galaxies like a cradle. What was once blinding heat became warmth. What was once turbulence became harmony. The CMB is proof that even the most violent storms can leave beauty in their wake, that energy seeks balance, that creation eventually rests. Perhaps that's why it feels almost like a memory, not of ours, but of existence itself. The light is ancient beyond comprehension, yet it connects everything that came after. Each photon that passes through us tonight began its journey when there were no stars, no sky, only the first echo of becoming. It's still traveling, still carrying that first story forward. But the universe didn't just expand, it began to spin. Galaxies drift through the dark like frozen whirlpools of light, each one spinning slowly, gracefully, as though caught in an endless cosmic dance. From a distance, they seem calm, perfect spirals, luminous arms curling outward in a silent display of symmetry. Yet behind that calm is motion so immense it defies intuition. Stars rush through their orbits at hundreds of kilometers per second, whole clusters pulled along in circular paths by a gravity that never reveals its source. What holds them together is not the light we see, but the shadow we cannot, a vast, invisible storm known as dark matter. At the heart of every galaxy lies a mystery. The stars move as though bound by an unseen hand, one far stronger than the pull of visible matter could ever explain. When astronomers first measured the speed of stars orbiting the edges of galaxies, they expected the outer stars to move more slowly, like planets far from the sun. But they didn't. They moved too fast, their velocity constant, as if something massive and invisible surrounded them, holding them tight. The conclusion was unsettling. Most of the universe's mass is hidden from view. The luminous spirals we marvel at, the dust, the gas, the stars, make up only a fraction of what truly exists. This invisible mass, dark matter, cannot be seen or touched, yet its fingerprints are everywhere. It bends light from distant galaxies, warps the fabric of space, and gathers the ingredients of creation itself. It is the silent architect behind every structure in the cosmos. Without it, galaxies would fly apart, their stars flung into the void. The beauty we see, the spirals and halos and glowing cores, are all held together by something that never shines. The universe, it seems, is not built from light but from shadow. There is something hauntingly poetic in that everything visible depends on what cannot be seen. The glow of the Milky Way across a summer sky, the gentle smudge of Andromeda through a telescope, even the faintest light from galaxies billions of years away, all exist because of an invisible storm surrounding them. Dark matter is like a ghost wind, shaping the cosmic seas without ever revealing its face. We know it only through its effects, through the way galaxies spin, through the way light bends around clusters of mass too great to be explained by what we can see. If one could watch a galaxy from the outside, in slow motion over millions of years, its arms would appear as waves moving through a sea of stars, not as fixed structures, but as patterns in motion. The stars follow paths carved by gravity, rising and falling through those waves, guided by the dense halo of dark matter that wraps around them. It's as though the galaxy is both a storm and a song, its rhythm set by forces hidden beneath the surface. Light and darkness performing together in perfect balance. Even the space between galaxies feels their pull. In clusters, dozens or hundreds of galaxies orbit one another, moving through a web of dark matter that connects them like strands of silk. This web extends across the universe, vast filaments and knots where galaxies gather, surrounding enormous voids where almost nothing exists. It's as though the universe itself has a structure, a skeleton made not of matter, but of gravity's invisible touch. We are part of that vast network, drifting through a silent storm that has been shaping the cosmos since the beginning of time. Dark matter's true nature remains one of the deepest enigmas in science. It doesn't emit light, it doesn't absorb it, and it doesn't collide with the particles we know. It is there, massive and present, yet forever beyond reach. Scientists have built detectors deep underground, hoping to catch the faintest whisper of its presence, but so far, it remains silent. It may be composed of particles unlike anything in our current understanding, or perhaps it represents something even stranger, a flaw in the way we perceive gravity itself. Every theory brings us closer, yet the core of the mystery still hides in the dark. There's something beautiful in that uncertainty. The thought that the universe might never give up all its secrets, that beneath every explanation lies another layer of wonder. The galaxies keep spinning, their arms luminous against the void, their motion steady and sure, guided by a force that cannot be seen but is always felt. It's a reminder that not all truths must be visible to be real, that even in the vast silence of space, unseen forces shape everything that shines. When we look up at the night sky, we see only the faintest surface of reality. The stars that trace the Milky Way are like sparks on a dark ocean, drifting on currents we cannot perceive. Beyond that glittering veil lies an immensity of shadow, holding everything in its grasp. Without it, the stars would scatter, the galaxies would unravel, the universe itself would lose its structure. Darkness, in this sense, is not absence but foundation. The invisible storm gives form to the visible calm. There's a quiet tension in every spiral galaxy, a balance between motion and containment, chaos and order. The stars burn with furious energy, yet their paths remain disciplined, tracing arcs that repeat for billions of years. Each galaxy is a frozen tempest, its light swirling endlessly around a still, dark center. The beauty we see is not the whole, it's the shimmer of foam on a deeper current. That current, unseen, is what keeps everything together. Sometimes, when astronomers simulate the evolution of galaxies on powerful computers, they begin with nothing but a cloud of dark matter. Even without light, without atoms, the patterns form: halos, filaments, collisions. Then, when ordinary matter is added, it falls into those invisible shapes, glowing only where the dark has already drawn the lines. It's like watching a painting emerge from a sketch that can never be erased. The universe, it seems, was designed in shadow long before it was lit. Perhaps that's the quiet lesson hidden in the whirlpools of galaxies, that every luminous spiral, every dazzling cluster, every cosmic storm is guided by forces we can neither see nor fully understand. Beauty, balance, motion, all of it owes its existence to the unseen. It makes you wonder what else might be shaped by invisible hands, what parts of our own lives are held together by forces we cannot name. The galaxies keep turning, patient and vast, their light taking millions of years to reach us. From Earth, we see them as they once were, frozen in time, their motion too slow to notice. Yet they continue, each one a storm that never ends, each one carrying within it the quiet truth that not all that matters must be visible. The night sky becomes a kind of mirror, a reflection of a deeper reality where the unseen guides the seen, where light dances to the rhythm of shadow. As we drift further into the story of the cosmos, the spirals fade into the distance, their light stretched and dimmed by time. Between them lies something quieter, colder, a vast space filled with whispers of radiation and the faint touch of matter too thin to see. The bright storms of galaxies give way to a new kind of stillness, a calm that hides its own mystery, waiting in the dark between worlds. In the deepest reaches of the cosmos, beyond the last drifting galaxies and the faintest shimmer of starlight, lies a silence so complete it feels eternal. To the human mind, it is emptiness, a vast nothing stretching in every direction, cold, dark, endless. Yet that stillness is an illusion. Beneath it, something stirs. The void, it turns out, is alive. It breathes in flickers too fast to see, hums in vibrations too subtle to feel. What we call empty space is not a void at all, but a restless sea, a storm without wind or light, where reality itself flickers in and out of existence. Quantum physics whispers that the vacuum is never still. Even when stripped of all matter and all light, the fabric of space cannot rest. Particles appear, vanish, and reappear, born from the uncertainty woven into the universe's foundation. Every patch of emptiness boils with potential, like water trembling just before it boils. It is a storm of ghosts, particles with no permanence, existing for less than an instant, yet shaping everything that is. This invisible chaos is known as the quantum vacuum, though the word vacuum feels misleading. It's not a void, but a kind of potential made visible only through its ripples. Within this storm, the rules of everyday logic dissolve. Pairs of particles flash into existence, one made of matter, the other of antimatter. They meet, collide, and cancel each other out, returning their borrowed energy to the sea from which they came. It's as if the universe keeps playing with existence, testing the boundary between being and not being, never satisfied with complete silence. On the smallest scales, the cosmos is never truly at rest. Even in perfect darkness, reality shivers. The scale of this activity is beyond comprehension. In every cubic centimeter of empty space, countless virtual particles are born and annihilated every second. Their presence cannot be seen directly, yet their influence can be measured. They push and pull on the boundaries of the universe, creating tiny forces that bend light, shift energy, and nudge the motion of galaxies. They are the subtle background hum of everything that exists. The more scientists look into this quantum sea, the more they realize that what we perceive as nothing may, in fact, contain everything. This constant agitation has a name: quantum fluctuations. It is these fluctuations that once shaped the earliest moments of the universe, giving rise to the seeds of galaxies and stars. The same chaos that fills the vacuum now once filled the cosmos itself, a storm that sculpted all structure, a whisper that became the roar of creation. The void, in other words, is not the absence of reality, but its foundation. Without its turbulence, there would be no stars, no matter, no light. Emptiness, it seems, is the true engine of everything that is. There's something deeply unsettling about that. The idea that even nothing refuses to be nothing, that the universe cannot help but create even from its own stillness. It's as though existence has a habit of happening, a restlessness that never fades. Scientists can measure the echoes of this activity in phenomena like the Casimir effect, where two metal plates placed close together in a vacuum are gently pushed by invisible forces. The plates feel pressure from the particles that aren't there, from the storm of the void itself. The more we look into nothingness, the more we see it move. This storm is so subtle, yet so profound that it may shape the destiny of the cosmos. The energy hidden in empty space, the vacuum energy, might be what drives the universe to expand faster and faster, pulling galaxies apart with invisible hands. What we call dark energy may be nothing more than the collective whisper of quantum nothingness. It means that the storm we cannot see is the same force that defines the fate of everything we can. The galaxies, the stars, the very structure of spacetime, all drifting on a sea of restless emptiness. At a glance, it feels paradoxical. How can nothing create something? How can silence produce sound or stillness give birth to motion? Yet the universe answers with quiet certainty. It can, and it does. Every second, everywhere, existence flickers into being from the void. The quantum sea is both chaos and creativity, destruction and renewal, a cosmic breath that never ends. It's a reminder that creation may not need a reason or a plan, that it could simply be what reality does when left alone. There's a strange comfort in that thought. It means that the boundary between being and nothingness is thinner than we ever imagined, that the universe itself is built on impermanence, yet somehow it holds together. Everything we know, our planet, our lives, every atom in our bodies, emerged from this storm of nothingness, shaped by fluctuations too small to imagine. We come from silence, from uncertainty, from the quiet hum beneath all things. Some physicists have suggested that this quantum storm might even have sparked the Big Bang itself, that the universe could have erupted from a tiny fluctuation in a timeless void, a spark in the sea of nothing. From that spark came expansion, matter, light, and the long unfolding of everything we now see. In that sense, the void is not an absence, but a womb. It holds the memory of creation in every restless vibration, in every tiny dance of energy that flickers through space. Yet there is a shadow to this beauty. If the void can give birth, it can also change. The quantum vacuum we live in may not be the ultimate ground state of reality. It might be temporary, a fragile calm between storms. Some theories suggest that our universe floats in a false vacuum, a kind of bubble of stability that could, one day, collapse. If that happens, a new kind of vacuum could emerge, rewriting the laws of physics in an instant. Space, time, and matter as we know them could dissolve, replaced by something entirely new. The universe might begin again, born from the fall of its own nothingness. But that possibility feels distant, more a whisper than a threat. For now, the void holds steady, humming softly beneath the stars. Every moment we exist, we are suspended in that hum, a balance between creation and collapse, between presence and absence. When you look up at the night sky, between the points of light, what you see is not emptiness but potential, a quiet storm of reality in its purest form. The tempest of nothingness is perhaps the strangest storm of all. It has no sound, no color, no shape, yet it defines everything. It blurs the line between existence and non-existence, between beginning and end. It suggests that the universe is not a static thing, but a process, an endless unfolding where even the calmest void hides motion. To know that nothingness itself seethes is to realize that the universe will never stop changing, that even silence is never truly silent. Beyond the galaxies, beyond the light, beyond even time itself, the quantum sea keeps moving, restless and eternal. Its ripples reach us in ways we can barely detect, shaping the stars, guiding the expansion, whispering the story of creation beneath every moment of existence. The void is not the end of the universe. It is its heartbeat. Yet somewhere in that pulse, hidden in the hum of empty space, lies a question we cannot ignore. What if this calm is temporary? What if the storm we call the vacuum, one day, turns on itself and begins again? There's a thought that lives quietly in the back of physics, whispered between equations, almost too fragile to say aloud. It begins as a question so strange that it feels more like poetry than science. What if the ground beneath existence isn't truly solid? What if everything, the galaxies, the stars, every breath we take, rests upon a temporary calm? The idea is called vacuum decay, a possibility that the very fabric of reality may be unstable, waiting in perfect stillness for the moment it changes forever. Our universe, for all its beauty and order, may not be the ultimate version of itself. The vacuum we live in, the space that holds everything together, might only be an approximation of true emptiness, a false vacuum. It's stable enough to last for billions of years, but not perfectly so. Deep in the mathematics of quantum field theory lies the haunting suggestion that there could exist a more stable form of reality, a lower energy state where the universe could rest completely. Should such a state ever form, even in a single point of space, it would expand at the speed of light, devouring everything in its path. This event would not be loud or violent in the way we understand storms. There would be no sound, no flash, no warning. One instant, the laws of physics would be what we know. The next, they would be rewritten, replaced by something unrecognizable. Atoms would dissolve, forces would vanish, the structure of space itself would unravel. There would be no pain, because there would be no time to feel it. Consciousness, matter, memory, all gone in a breath too short to measure. To grasp the idea of vacuum decay is to confront the most silent catastrophe imaginable. It's not destruction in the traditional sense, but transformation beyond comprehension. The bubble of true vacuum, once born, would expand relentlessly, indifferent to distance, unstoppable by any means. It wouldn't just erase stars or galaxies, it would erase the very rules that allow such things to exist. The constants of nature, the balance of forces, the texture of space-time, all rewritten by the storm of a new reality. It's unsettling. This idea that existence could end not through heat death or collapse, but through an invisible phase change, like water suddenly freezing from vapor. Physicists describe it as a metastable state where the universe appears calm, but harbors the potential for sudden transition. The energy trapped in our vacuum acts like a coiled spring, perfectly balanced yet capable of release. In that release lies the end of everything we understand, yet also, perhaps, the beginning of something else. There's a strange kind of beauty in it, not the beauty of survival, but of inevitability. The thought that the universe may one day exhale and become something new. Some scientists find this possibility terrifying, others oddly comforting. Because such a transition, should it occur, would be instantaneous. There would be no suffering, no awareness of loss, just a quiet shift into something beyond comprehension. The storm would come without sound or light, sweeping across galaxies in perfect silence, turning all of existence into a new kind of nothing. The roots of this idea go back to the structure of the Higgs field, the invisible energy that gives mass to everything. When scientists discovered the Higgs boson in 2012, it seemed to confirm that our universe rests in a stable state. Yet as measurements became more precise, some models began to hint otherwise. The numbers suggested that the Higgs field might not sit at the absolute bottom of its energy landscape, but on a ledge, stable for now, but precarious in the long term. A cosmic glass resting just before the edge of a table, unmoving but vulnerable to the faintest vibration. Quantum mechanics tells us that even the smallest probabilities are never zero. A fluctuation could occur, creating a tiny bubble of lower energy vacuum somewhere in the universe. That bubble, free of the constraints that bind our current laws, would expand faster than light, erasing all boundaries. To those outside, there would be no sign. To those inside, no witness. The storm would move not through space, but through existence itself, consuming not distance, but reality. It's the ultimate expression of the universe's indifference. Yet beneath that indifference lies something profound, a reflection of impermanence. Everything born in time carries the potential for change. Stars die, atoms decay, even space-time itself may have an expiration. Perhaps this instability is not a flaw, but the very essence of creation. Because for something new to arise, something old must give way. In that sense, even the end of our universe could be seen as part of a larger rhythm, a breath drawn in the dark, then released. The human mind is not built to linger comfortably on such scales. To think about vacuum decay is to feel the limits of comprehension, to press against the edges of what it means to exist at all. Yet within that discomfort lies awe. The fact that consciousness can even ponder its own fragility is a kind of defiance. We exist, briefly, aware of the storm that could one day erase us, yet still capable of wonder. The universe may be unstable, but in our awareness of it, we find a strange steadiness. There's also an irony here. The same physics that predicts such a quiet end also grants us the stability to live, breathe, and think in the first place. The false vacuum, precarious as it might be, has endured for over 13 billion years. Whatever fragility it hides, it's patient, serene, almost compassionate in its endurance. The storm has not come. Perhaps it never will. Quantum probabilities can stretch into timescales longer than the lifetime of galaxies, longer than the existence of stars, longer even than meaning itself. Some thinkers suggest that even if vacuum decay is inevitable, it's not to be feared, because in that instant of transformation, new physics could emerge. A universe reborn, built on principles unrecognizable to ours. The cycle of storms continuing, not as an ending, but as renewal. From one perspective, vacuum decay is the death of all things. From another, it is the ultimate act of creation, the cosmos remaking itself in silence. When viewed that way, the hypothesis becomes less terrifying, more serene. A cosmic reset written into the structure of being itself. The same fabric that once tore open in the Big Bang could tear again, spilling new possibility into existence. Maybe that's how universes grow, not linearly, but in pulses, each one born from the decay of the last. Every storm, no matter how final it seems, carries the potential to give birth to something even greater. The thought lingers like a quiet echo. The universe is patient. It has always been patient. The stars burn and fade, the galaxies drift apart, yet the storm waits. Perhaps the vacuum's stillness is not fragility, but grace, holding its breath in perfect balance. The ultimate storm may come one day, silent and complete, but until then, existence continues. Fragile, shimmering, suspended between chaos and calm. Take a moment to feel that balance. Every heartbeat, every breath, every glimmer of starlight is proof that the universe still holds. The vacuum hums beneath us, serene yet alive, carrying the memory of creation in its stillness. Somewhere beyond the stars, the potential for renewal sleeps, waiting. The storm is not here yet. Perhaps in its patience, the universe is telling us something. That destruction and creation are never separate, only different phases of the same eternal pulse. As it waits, the cosmos seems to whisper in its silence. Storms are not always meant to end worlds. Sometimes they begin them. In the quiet expanse between the stars, clouds drift, immense, cold, ancient. They seem peaceful from afar, a haze of soft color stretched across the black canvas of space. Yet within those clouds, chaos reigns. The great nebulae are not still, but alive with motion. Gas collides with dust, temperature shifts in violent swirls, filaments stretch and fold, tangled like breath caught between stillness and eruption. These are the wombs of stars, the places where storms of gravity give birth to light. Creation, it turns out, is never gentle. Every nebula begins as a scattering of particles, relics of older stars that once burned and died. Over time, their ashes drift together, pulled by invisible threads of gravity. A slow gathering begins, quiet but relentless. The cloud thickens, its heart darkens, until density breeds warmth. Within those depths, turbulence takes hold. Shock waves ripple through the gas, compressing some regions while shredding others apart. The nebula becomes a battlefield of motion, a storm of dust and hydrogen, swirling toward collapse. As the cloud tightens, the temperature rises. At a certain threshold, heat and pressure reach a point where atoms fuse, releasing more energy than the storm can contain. In that instant, a star is born. The chaos of collapse transforms into the calm of radiance, a balance between the inward pull of gravity and the outward push of light. What began as disorder becomes harmony, the storm's violence converted into the steady glow that will warm worlds and shape skies. The universe's most serene lights are born from its fiercest turbulence. Yet the story of starbirth is not uniform. Some clouds collapse quickly, birthing clusters of stars in a single surge. Others linger for millions of years, slow dancing toward ignition. Within these vast nurseries, not all matter finds stability. Some fragments remain in perpetual drift, destined never to ignite. Others form planets, moons, or belts of debris. The process is both creative and wasteful, producing brilliance and emptiness side by side. In every starfield, the residue of failed stars floats among the successful, silent witnesses to creation's indifference. Still, there is an exquisite symmetry in the process. The same forces that destroy stars, gravity, pressure, collapse, are the ones that create them. Each generation of stars is born from the remains of those before it, their death seeding the cosmos with the ingredients for new life. Supernovae scatter heavy elements across the void, enriching the next wave of nebulae. In time, those enriched clouds form stars with planets capable of oceans, forests, breath. The storm is cyclical, destruction feeding creation, chaos nurturing calm. Inside the Orion Nebula, one of the closest stellar nurseries to Earth, this storm is visible in motion. Through a telescope, what looks like a soft violet glow is actually a cauldron of matter, thousands of light years wide. Jets of gas shoot outward from newborn stars, carving tunnels through the cloud. Shock waves ripple like surf across a cosmic shore. The temperature differences alone could vaporize worlds, yet from that chaos, delicate systems emerge, planets forming in the wake of turbulence, rings of dust coalescing around young suns. The scale is impossible to hold in the mind, yet the rhythm feels familiar, almost intimate. It's the same pattern that governs a heartbeat, a tide, a thought. Contraction, release, creation. There's a strange tenderness in knowing that every sunrise we witness was born from such violence. The golden light that filters through morning clouds carries the memory of collapse and ignition. Our sun was once a knot within a storm, one among countless siblings inside a long-vanished nebula. Its light, steady, and calm is the echo of that chaos, the aftermath of a gravitational tempest that gave shape to our world. Even the Earth itself, its oceans, its iron core, its fragile breath of atmosphere, arose from the dust of older storms. In that sense, creation in the universe is less an act of order than an act of balance. The nebula does not plan or choose. It simply follows the laws that guide its motion. Gravity pulling inward, energy pushing outward, the equilibrium between collapse and release. Within that tension lies beauty. Every luminous point in the night sky is proof that peace can emerge from turmoil, that light can be born from darkness without erasing it. The storm and the serenity coexist, eternally intertwined. Take a moment to picture the quiet between stars as more than emptiness. It's filled with the faint breath of future suns. Across the Milky Way, in regions invisible to the naked eye, countless clouds are collapsing at this very moment. Some of those stars will outlive us by billions of years. Others will die before their light ever reaches Earth. Yet all will leave something behind, a trace, a particle, a wave of energy that continues the endless cycle of storm and calm. The cosmos does not waste motion. Every swirl, every collapse, every fusion contributes to the larger story. The nebular chaos that births stars also defines their personality. Some become red giants, vast and slow-burning. Others, smaller and denser, pulse with regular rhythms, marking cosmic time. The nature of a star, its color, its lifespan, its destiny, is written in the turbulence of its birth. Just as the tone of a song is shaped by its first note, so too is a star's future determined by the storm that formed it. Even the calmest suns carry within them the memory of that first convulsion. For all its beauty, star formation remains one of the universe's great mysteries. Scientists can describe its outlines, but much remains hidden within the depths of nebulae. The interplay of magnetism, radiation, and motion creates patterns too complex to predict. In the end, each star's birth is unique, a singular expression of the same eternal forces. That unpredictability mirrors life itself, structured yet spontaneous, guided yet free. There's something meditative in knowing that light itself is born this way. Every photon that reaches your eye from a distant star began its journey in a storm, forged in heat and pressure before drifting across light years of silence. By the time it touches your retina, it carries not just illumination, but history, a message from chaos that found its way into calm. The night sky, then, is not a portrait of stillness, but a gallery of storms long past, frozen in their final glow. Starbirth reveals a truth that runs through everything. Creation requires motion. Without turbulence, the nebula would never collapse. Without compression, fusion would never ignite. The serenity we admire in the stars exists only because of the storms that came before. Even on Earth, that pattern holds. The soil that feeds forests was formed by ancient violence. Volcanoes, impacts, tectonic shifts. Every calm landscape is the result of a storm that has already spent itself. The nebular chaos reminds us that peace is not the absence of motion, but its transformation. The same energy that tears matter apart can also knit it together. Each act of creation carries within it the remnants of destruction, and each storm, no matter how violent, leaves behind the potential for light. The stars teach us that beauty often begins with instability, that balance is found not by stillness, but through motion. Across the vastness of space, the storms of creation continue without pause. Clouds collapse, stars ignite, galaxies shimmer with the flicker of new light. Somewhere in a nebula far from our own, another sun may be forming now, its gravity gathering the dust that will one day shine across the universe. Its light will rise upon worlds not yet born. Its warmth will nurture life not yet imagined. The pattern never ends. The storm always returns, always transforms, always gives. The birth of stars is perhaps the universe's most elegant paradox. It is violence becoming beauty, chaos becoming order, destruction becoming creation. Every sunrise is a small echo of that moment, a daily reminder that even the gentlest light begins in turmoil. As the sun climbs each morning, scattering gold across the sky, it carries within it the legacy of a nebula's storm, a silent story of collapse and ignition that began long before life took its first breath. But the cosmos holds greater storms still. Beyond the cradles of stars, beyond the clouds that shimmer with newborn light, there are tempests that engulf entire galaxies. Forces so immense they bend time itself. The nebular chaos may give birth to suns, yet elsewhere in the vast architecture of the universe, the storms rise higher, deeper, swallowing light and motion alike. The next storm waits in the dark, vast enough to shape not just stars but galaxies themselves. Across the dark reaches of space, where time moves like the slow breathing of a sleeping giant, galaxies drift toward one another. From a distance, they appear calm, silent, majestic. Spirals of silver and gold suspended in black infinity. Yet beneath that stillness lies motion, a gradual pull, a quiet approach written into the very fabric of gravity. It takes billions of years, but eventually, these vast islands of stars begin to feel each other's presence. Their edges stretch, their shapes distort, and their paths curve into a slow, inevitable embrace. When galaxies meet, they do not crash, they dance. A dance so vast, so delicate, that even destruction takes the form of grace. As they draw near, their invisible halos of dark matter intertwine first, long before their stars touch. Gravity whispers between them, tugging at clouds of gas, pulling threads of starlight into long, ethereal bridges. The two spirals begin to twist, their arms stretching into ribbons that shimmer like smoke across the void. Though each galaxy contains billions of stars, the space between them is so immense that most pass harmlessly by. Yet gravity cares little for the safety of individuals. It reshapes the whole. The delicate balance of each galaxy collapses into motion. Stars are flung outward into space, others pulled into tight orbits around new centers. Great waves of compression ripple through the interstellar gas, sparking fresh births of stars amid the chaos. The universe, once again, uses destruction to create. Over time, the two galaxies lose their distinct forms. Their once clear spirals dissolve into tangled streams, glowing arcs that stretch for hundreds of thousands of light years. In these regions, gravity becomes both artist and sculptor. It tears apart what once was whole, then weaves the fragments into something new. The collisions ignite regions of furious star formation, transforming quiet, dim corners into radiant nurseries of blue and white light. To an outside observer, it's as if the universe briefly holds its breath, then exhales in fire. For most of cosmic history, these mergers have shaped the galaxies we see today. The Milky Way itself bears scars of ancient collisions. Its stars carry mixed origins, some born here, others captured long ago from smaller companions. Even our home is not immune to the dance. Far beyond the reach of human time, another great spiral waits for us. Andromeda, drifting steadily closer. In roughly 4 billion years, it will merge with the Milky Way, fusing into a single enormous elliptical galaxy. The night sky of that distant future will be filled with tides of light, stars arcing like rivers across the horizon. Yet for the inhabitants of any surviving worlds, the event will be silent. The stars will glide past one another like dancers in slow motion, their distances so vast that even a cosmic collision becomes an act of elegance. Still, within that grace lies violence. Black holes at the centers of both galaxies will spiral toward each other, feeding on collapsing gas, unleashing torrents of energy brighter than all the stars combined. Their merger will send ripples of gravitational waves sweeping across the cosmos. Echoes of mass colliding with mass, space folding into itself for an instant before returning to calm. These are the heartbeats of galactic storms, the final steps in a dance that ends with fusion. Once the chaos settles, what remains is a new creation, a reshaped world of stars, calm and luminous in its aftermath. There is poetry in the way the universe handles collision. It does not shatter, it transforms. Two galaxies approach not to destroy, but to merge, to become something that neither could have been alone. In that, there's a reflection of every kind of growth. The way rivers carve valleys, the way storms shape coastlines, the way even human lives change through impact and motion. The universe, in all its immensity, mirrors the patterns we know deep within ourselves. To watch a galactic collision through the lens of a telescope is to witness time compressed into beauty. The antennae galaxies, for instance, caught in mid-merger, stretch their luminous arms outward like dancers frozen in an endless embrace. Each glowing thread contains millions of stars, each spark a sun with its own potential for worlds and life. Yet, from the human perspective, that moment appears still, almost serene. The violence of the event is hidden beneath the scale. What seems calm to our eyes is, in truth, chaos moving too slowly for us to perceive. The symmetry of it all feels almost intentional. Galaxies collide not randomly, but through the pull of mutual attraction, following paths determined long before they meet. The universe itself seems to choreograph the movement, ensuring that even destruction follows a rhythm. Out of this rhythm, patterns emerge: bridges, loops, tidal tails, fleeting forms that mark the transition between old and new. Every collision is unique, yet all share the same outcome: transformation. Some of the stars born during these collisions burn hotter and shorter than any that came before. They live bright, furious lives, exhausting their fuel in mere millions of years before exploding into supernovae. In their death, they scatter the heavy elements that will one day form planets, oceans, and living things. Even the Earth owes its existence to such events. Long before our sun ignited, galaxies like ours collided, their violence seeding the cosmos with the material that would later coalesce into the ingredients of life. Destruction feeding creation, chaos nurturing order, the cycle repeats across every scale. There is a quiet lesson hidden in the dance of galaxies. The universe does not cling to stability. It moves, collides, merges, reshapes, always in pursuit of balance through change. What seems like ruin from one perspective is renewal from another. When galaxies merge, they lose their old identities, yet they become something vaster, richer, more luminous. Even the storms that threaten to erase structure give birth to new structure. The cosmos, it seems, thrives on the tension between permanence and transformation. Imagine standing on a world orbiting a star deep within a colliding galaxy. The night sky would no longer be dark. Great rivers of starlight would stretch from horizon to horizon, glowing arcs of color crossing the heavens. For ages, that light would shift, change, drift, a living sky. Yet even there, amid the grandeur, silence would reign. The vastness of space ensures that the storm, however magnificent, unfolds without sound. It's a paradox that defines the cosmos. The most violent events are also the quietest. Our own future is written into that silence. The Milky Way and Andromeda will merge into a single system, their central black holes joining in a final, cataclysmic union. But by then, the sun will have aged. The Earth may no longer be habitable, humanity perhaps long gone or changed beyond recognition. Still, the dance will continue, indifferent yet beautiful. From the remains of both galaxies, new stars will rise, new worlds will orbit them, new forms of life may awaken beneath unfamiliar skies. Even in endings, the universe makes room for beginnings. Galactic collisions remind us that chaos is not the opposite of order, but its origin. Every act of creation begins with disturbance. Every structure emerges from motion. The galaxies teach through their destruction that wholeness is not static, that being complete often means being reshaped. Their slow spirals across the ages echo the rhythm of existence itself. Movement, impact, change, renewal. So when two galaxies finally merge, their stars mingling, their dust and gas entwining, they do not vanish. They evolve. Out of their meeting, a new harmony is born, one that carries traces of both ancestors, yet becomes something wholly its own. The universe, through their collision, reminds us that every storm, no matter how vast, carries within it the potential for beauty. As the last remnants of the dance fade into equilibrium, the galaxies settle into stillness once more, transformed but enduring. In the long quiet that follows, their light continues to travel outward, crossing millions of light years to reach eyes like ours. To see that light is to look not at destruction, but at rebirth. And yet, beyond even these grand mergers, lies a deeper question. If galaxies can collide and merge, reshaping themselves through gravity's will, what happens when everything, all galaxies, all matter, all space, begins to fold inward? What kind of storm is born when the universe itself decides to return to its beginning? Across the deep stillness of night, galaxies drift apart like ships slowly vanishing over a cosmic horizon. The darkness between them stretches, widening with each heartbeat of time. Space itself is swelling, not into anything, but within itself, as though the universe were taking a long, endless breath. From our vantage point, everything appears calm, yet what unfolds on the grandest scale is a storm of expansion. Invisible, unstoppable, serene in its violence. The galaxies that once gathered in clusters now slip farther away, their light growing fainter, their voices dimming across the eons. The universe is stretching, faster, wider, colder. But the question lingers in that cold air. How long can this expansion continue before it tears the fabric of existence itself? When scientists first discovered the accelerating expansion of the universe, it felt like uncovering a hidden pulse beneath silence. The cosmos wasn't just coasting outward after the Big Bang. It was speeding up, as if driven by some unseen pressure. This mysterious force, now called dark energy, defies intuition. Instead of pulling matter together, it pushes it apart. It threads through space like a quiet wind, gentle at first glance, yet infinitely persistent. Over billions of years, its effect compounds, stretching the void between galaxies until the distances become insurmountable. In the early universe, gravity reigned. The combined mass of stars, gas, and dark matter worked to slow expansion, pulling against the outward push of momentum from the Big Bang. For a time, the two forces balanced in a fragile equilibrium. But as the universe aged and thinned, dark energy began to dominate. The cosmic tug-of-war ended, and expansion began to accelerate. From that moment on, every galaxy not bound by gravity to another started drifting away faster than before. It's an expansion that continues to this day, quiet yet inexorable. In the far future, the night sky will change. The familiar constellations that humans have known for millennia will dissolve. Distant galaxies will slip beyond visibility, their light stretched into wavelengths too long for human eyes to perceive. Over unimaginable spans of time, the observable universe will shrink from our perspective, not because it's collapsing, but because light itself will no longer reach us. The cosmos, once bright and filled with structure, will fade into isolation. What we see today, the tapestry of galaxies scattered across the sky, is temporary. It's a glimpse of youth in a universe destined for solitude. Some cosmologists speak of the Big Rip, a final, cataclysmic crescendo to the expansion. According to this idea, dark energy's strength may not remain constant. It could grow. With time, the repulsive force that stretches the universe might become overwhelming. First, galaxies would drift beyond one another's grasp. Then stars within galaxies would be pulled apart, their orbits unbound by the widening of space. Later, even atoms might fall victim. The bonds that hold protons and electrons together could fail, torn by the acceleration of spacetime itself. In the final moments, the universe wouldn't explode, it would unravel. The ultimate storm of separation, silent yet absolute. This vision of the end is haunting not for its violence, but for its stillness. No fire, no collapse, just the quiet dissolution of everything that has ever existed. Space would stretch faster than light could travel, leaving no time for light, matter, or even information to persist. Existence would dissolve into a perfect, endless void. Yet there's a strange peace in this image, as if the universe, after an eternity of creation and destruction, might finally exhale and rest. There are, however, other possibilities. Some theories suggest the expansion might one day slow again, that dark energy could weaken or reverse, leading to a collapse, the Big Crunch. In this alternate ending, galaxies would stop receding, turn inward, and fall back together under gravity's call. The universe would contract, growing hotter, denser, until all of existence converged into a single point of unimaginable energy, a mirror of its beginning. From that collapse, perhaps, a new Big Bang could arise, setting the cycle of birth and death in motion once more. The cosmos might not end, but transform, an eternal rhythm of expansion and renewal. Between these two extremes lies another possibility, one quieter, more subtle. The universe could simply fade. Expansion might continue indefinitely, yet at a steady, gentle pace. Stars would burn out one by one, leaving only cold remnants drifting through infinite night. Black holes would evaporate through Hawking radiation, releasing their final whispers of energy into the emptiness. After trillions of years, the universe would grow dark. Space would still expand, but there would be nothing left to move within it. No storms, no collisions, only silence. The great symphony of creation would resolve into a single lingering note, slowly fading into nothing. Whatever the outcome, the fate of cosmic expansion invites reflection on the nature of impermanence. The same force that gives rise to the vast beauty of galaxies also carries within it the promise of dissolution. Every star's light, every atom's bond, exists only within the brief calm between storms. Yet even in this truth, there is comfort. The universe has always been in motion, and its transformations, however immense, are part of a larger continuity. Each ending is absorbed into something greater, an infinite flow of change that began long before stars were born and will continue long after they're gone. Take a moment to think about what it means to live in such a universe. Our existence, fleeting and fragile, unfolds within this grand expansion. The photons that strike our eyes have traveled through the swelling fabric of space, stretched and softened by the very force that will one day erase them. The light of distant galaxies that we see tonight began its journey billions of years ago, when the universe was younger, warmer, closer. To look at the night sky is to peer into the deep river of time, watching not just stars, but memory itself drift away. In the quiet of that thought, the universe feels less like a cold mechanism and more like a living story. A story that began with a burst of unimaginable energy, grew into complexity and light, then slowed into contemplation. Perhaps the cosmic expansion isn't just physical, but poetic, an outward breath of existence, a sigh that carries all creation with it. The acceleration of space may not signify decay, but expression, the universe stretching itself into fullness before finding rest again. What remains constant through all of this is the rhythm. Every galaxy, every atom, every life participates in this universal cadence of growth and release. The storms of gravity, radiation, and collapse are chapters in a vast narrative of balance. Even the expansion that threatens to tear the cosmos apart is simply another form of motion, a continuation of the same energy that once ignited the first stars. The big rip, the big crunch, the slow fading into entropy, each is an interpretation of the same truth. Everything changes. Nothing is lost, only transformed. The storms that shape the cosmos are the same forces that will someday dissolve it, just as the waves that carve the shore also pull it gently back to sea. Perhaps that is the final beauty of expansion. Not its violence, but its serenity. The universe is not fighting to survive, nor racing toward an end. It simply moves, guided by laws that are neither cruel nor kind, but deeply consistent. Beneath the turbulence lies stillness, an eternal quiet that has always been there, waiting beneath the surface of time. In that stillness, one begins to sense the possibility that endings may not be endings at all. That beyond the last fading star, beyond the final ripple of spacetime, something new might begin to stir. For what is a storm, even the greatest one, but the prelude to calm? And what is calm but the soil from which new storms are born? The universe expands still, its edges retreating into mystery. Yet somewhere within that motion, in the silence between galaxies, lies a subtle promise that the story is not finished, only paused. Beyond endings, there may lie another beginning. In the stillness beyond imagination, where galaxies dissolve and even time forgets its pace, a quiet rhythm may yet endure. Not a sound, not a movement that any being could measure, but something deeper, the slow inhaling and exhaling of existence itself. Some cosmologists dream of such a pattern, a universe that does not end in darkness nor in silence, but folds itself inward to begin anew. They speak of cycles, of bounces, of an eternal heartbeat hidden within the laws of physics. In their view, the cosmos may not be a single creation, but a living pulse, breathing in space and time, expanding outward, then drawing everything back to its center before releasing it once more. This idea, known as the Big Bounce, carries a strange beauty. It suggests that even after the last star fades and the last atom falls apart, something continues. The energy that once filled galaxies, the gravity that shaped worlds, the space that stretched between them, all of it may compress again into a singular storm of density and heat. Then, from that unbearable stillness, a new explosion might arise, scattering light and matter into another beginning. Each universe would be born from the ashes of the last, like a cosmic phoenix that never truly dies. In such a cycle, the universe becomes a kind of memory. The patterns we see, galaxies swirling, stars collapsing, planets spinning, may be echoes from previous universes, faint imprints carried across cycles of existence. The physics we observe might not be arbitrary, but inherited, passed down through countless generations of cosmoses. Every expansion and collapse would refine the next, shaping a grand evolution not of life, but of reality itself. Perhaps the constants that govern our world, the strength of gravity, the speed of light, are not fixed, but the result of infinite rehearsals, adjusted by the rhythm of creation. The idea bends the mind, yet it offers a kind of solace. If the Big Bang was not the beginning, then the universe is not a fragile accident, but part of an eternal pattern. Its storms are not one-time tempests, but pulses of something vast and ongoing. It means the cosmos is alive in a way, breathing, resting, awakening. The same energy that ignited the first atoms could have pulsed countless times before, sculpting realities we will never see, each born from the same seed of collapse. To understand this, one must picture not a straight timeline, but a circle, where endings curve into beginnings. The Big Crunch, the potential future collapse of our expanding universe, would not be destruction, but transformation. As space contracts, matter would fall inward, heating to unimaginable temperatures, compressing into pure energy. At that point, physics as we know it would break. Yet something fundamental might survive, a spark of order that carries the blueprint of everything that came before. That spark would ignite the next universe, setting in motion a new round of stars, galaxies, and minds to contemplate them. The thought that space-time itself could renew is almost poetic. The storms that once tore galaxies apart would, in another cycle, give birth to them again. Energy that raged in one universe would cool into calm matter in the next. The same hydrogen that flared into stars could someday flow again through another cosmos, perhaps forming new suns, new planets, even new beings who gaze upward and wonder where it all began. It might never have begun. It might always have been. Take a moment to breathe with that thought. The inhale and exhale of the universe mirrored in your own chest. The air you draw in has passed through countless transformations. Once the breath of ancient forests, once the vapor of lost oceans, once the dust of exploding stars. On a grander scale, the same may be true of the universe itself. What we experience now could be a moment in a vast respiration, the cosmos taking in and releasing, never ending, never fully still. This cyclical view reshapes our understanding of time. In such a model, time is not linear, but rhythmic, not a river flowing toward an ocean of nothingness, but a tide rising and falling forever. Every storm, no matter how violent, becomes part of that rhythm. Even destruction is temporary, part of a pattern that leads back to creation. The Big Bounce transforms the end of the universe from a tragedy into a heartbeat. The death of stars, the collapse of galaxies, the expansion of space, all are moments in the same endless breath. Philosophically, it is a soothing notion. It suggests that loss, on every scale, is never final. The universe, in this view, is not a stage for fleeting accidents, but a self-renewing whole. The darkness we fear is not oblivion, but rest, the pause between one pulse and the next. Each cycle would carry with it traces of memory, not in words or thoughts, but in the subtle patterns of physics and structure. The universe remembers itself not through consciousness, but through rhythm. Some theories even suggest that black holes could play a role in this rebirth. At their cores, where space and time invert, the extreme compression of matter might form seeds for new universes. To an outside observer, a black hole is an end, a place where everything disappears. But from another perspective, beyond that event horizon, the singularity could be the beginning of another cosmos, expanding in its own hidden dimension. Our universe, then, could be the offspring of another, born through the death of its predecessor. Each universe might sprout others, branching endlessly, like a cosmic tree whose roots and leaves are made of time. To think this way is to see the universe not as a single storm, but as an ocean of storms, each wave collapsing and rising again. No single creation or destruction is ultimate. The process itself is the reality, eternal motion, eternal transformation. The storms of spacetime are not chaos, but breath. Not violence, but renewal. The beauty of the Big Bounce lies in its humility. It does not demand a beginning from nothing, nor an end in emptiness. It accepts that existence may always have existed, shifting forms but never ceasing. It offers a universe that grows tired, collapses, rests, then begins again, forever. Such a cosmos would be both ancient and newborn, every atom part of an unbroken lineage stretching through infinite pasts and futures. From this perspective, even our brief lives gain a new depth. We are made of matter forged in the previous cycle, shaped by storms that raged before time as we know it began. The iron in our blood, the calcium in our bones, the carbon that builds our thoughts, all were born in earlier universes, recycled through collapse and rebirth. To exist is to participate in a story without end, a rhythm that extends beyond comprehension. Perhaps in the quietest moments, the universe itself feels this rhythm. Between each expansion and contraction, a pause, a moment of stillness, like the silence between heartbeats. That silence may be the closest thing to peace the cosmos ever knows. Not absence, but balance. Not death, but continuation. As the theory suggests, the storm of the universe does not destroy itself. It transforms, folds, and unfolds, eternally weaving new realities from the remnants of the old. The cycle of rebirth turns destruction into melody, chaos into rhythm, death into pulse. Even the laws of physics become participants in this eternal dance, bending and reforming with every cosmic breath. Perhaps one day, our universe too will return to that singularity, not as a failure, but as fulfillment. Its galaxies will fade, its light will dim, and space will curve inward. Yet within that collapse, something will awaken, a new spark, a new dawn. The next universe will bloom, carrying faint echoes of ours in its patterns of light and motion. So the storm becomes a heartbeat, slow, infinite, tender in its repetition. The cosmos does not fear the end because it has learned to begin again. Within its rise and fall lies the quiet promise that nothing is truly lost, only transformed into the next verse of eternity's song. But within this endless rhythm, something else begins to stir. Not of matter or gravity, not of heat or expansion. A different kind of storm, one born not in the heart of galaxies, but in the silence of minds. The storm of thought. Inside the stillness of a single thought, something vast unfolds. Beneath the quiet hum of a human brain lies a tempest of staggering complexity, a storm as intricate as any galaxy, as delicate as a flicker of light across deep water. The neurons within us do not move through space, but their dance mirrors the universe itself. Charged particles flashing, networks shifting, invisible forces binding countless moments into something that feels like a self. Consciousness, in this sense, may be the most profound storm the cosmos has ever created. Each flicker of awareness is born from chaos, not unlike the birth of stars. Electrical surges leap across the dark between neurons, sparking in patterns so intricate they form memories, desires, identity. In that electric sea, waves rise and fall every millisecond, carrying emotions that crash and fade like tides. The brain is not a static organ, but a living tempest, in constant motion, sculpting order from endless noise. Thoughts do not appear gently. They erupt, they spiral, collide, dissolve. Yet somehow, through all this turbulence, we experience something astonishingly calm, a sense of being. It is strange to think that the same universe that burns stars into existence also burns thoughts into minds. Both are acts of creation driven by instability. Both transform chaos into coherence. Just as galaxies form through gravitational pull, consciousness forms through the invisible pull of neural activity, clustering sparks into constellations of meaning. Each idea is a small flash in that storm, a star that lives for only a second before vanishing into the void, leaving behind a faint trace in memory's sky. The resemblance between mind and cosmos runs deeper than metaphor. The structure of neural networks echoes the filaments of galaxies stretched across the universe. Clusters connected by threads, pockets of energy suspended in vast emptiness. On the grandest scale, the universe looks almost like a brain, shimmering with billions of points of light, each bound to others by unseen tension. Some physicists and philosophers have noted this eerie similarity and wondered whether consciousness might not simply exist within the universe, but be an expression of it. Perhaps, they whisper, the universe has awakened, briefly through us. In this view, the human mind becomes a tiny version of cosmic weather, a storm contained within skin and skull, yet shaped by the same laws that govern suns. Our emotions rise like solar flares, our memories condense like nebulae, our awareness expands and contracts like space itself. Each time we think, we recreate, in miniature, the restless patterns of the cosmos. The energy that moves through us has no beginning or end. It is recycled starlight, passing through flesh, thinking itself into existence for a moment before dispersing again into silence. That thought alone is humbling. Consciousness may not be a miracle isolated to humans, but a phenomenon born wherever complexity reaches a certain depth. The storm of mind could be nature's way of watching itself unfold, the universe becoming aware of its own turbulence. Through our eyes, galaxies witness their own glow. Through our thoughts, matter reflects upon itself. In us, the universe contemplates its own existence. For a fleeting instant, chaos understands that it is alive. This recognition carries both beauty and terror. The mind, like the cosmos, is full of forces beyond control. Within each person exists creation and destruction, peace and violence, light and shadow. Our internal storms can tear us apart or forge us into something greater. A single thought can soothe, or it can burn everything down. Emotions surge like weather, unpredictable, immense, sometimes gentle, sometimes catastrophic. To be conscious is to dwell inside perpetual motion, a universe within, unfolding endlessly. There is poetry in that instability. Perhaps the reason we seek meaning in the stars is because we sense their reflection in ourselves. The same awe that grips us when we gaze into the night sky is a recognition, not of distance, but of kinship. Our minds shimmer with their light, translated into thought. The storms out there are not separate from the storms in here. They are different scales of the same restless energy, patterns that repeat across levels of reality. Every flicker of curiosity, every burst of love or grief or wonder is part of that same great movement. Inside the brain's tempest, moments of stillness sometimes appear, flashes of clarity like breaks in a thunderstorm. These pauses remind us that the storm is not all there is. Beneath the chaos of thought lies a deeper field, quiet, boundless, perhaps akin to the calm between galaxies. Some call it awareness, others presence, others simply being. Whatever name it takes, it feels like the silent counterpart to the storm, the space in which it unfolds. Consciousness is not only the storm itself, but the sky that holds it. In that silence, something mysterious resides. We cannot point to it, or measure it, or define it by equations. It is what allows every experience to be known. The storm may rage, thoughts may scatter, emotions may twist and churn, yet something witnesses all of it without being swept away. That witnessing may be the closest we come to understanding the still point at the heart of all storms, the center that does not move even as everything else does. Through this lens, consciousness becomes not just a phenomenon of biology, but a reflection of the universe's own dynamics. The forces that sculpt galaxies also sculpt our thoughts. The patterns that govern storms of gas and light govern the storms of neurons and dreams. We are not observers of the cosmos, but participants in its unfolding. The same gravity that binds stars may also bind ideas, drawing them together into constellations of meaning. What's extraordinary is how fragile this awareness is, yet how immense its reach. The electric murmurs inside a human skull can comprehend the birth and death of universes, can imagine time before time, can feel empathy for distant strangers and curiosity for invisible worlds. A small storm of flesh and fire contains the capacity to hold the infinite. Within us, stardust becomes self-aware. The cosmos looks inward and calls itself I. To live, then, is to dwell within two storms at once, the one that shaped us from cosmic dust and the one that stirs within our thoughts each moment. Between them, a kind of harmony exists. The chaos that forged stars also forged neurons. The same turbulence that gave birth to light gave birth to consciousness. We are storms nested within storms, energy folding upon itself to create awareness. Perhaps this is what all the cosmic tempest has been leading toward. Not just matter organizing into stars and galaxies, but into beings capable of seeing, feeling, understanding. Consciousness may be the universe's way of reflecting on its own motion, the calm eye within its eternal hurricane. When we think, the cosmos listens to itself. When we wonder, it dreams. When we love, it remembers what it means to be whole. Through understanding the storms of spacetime, we begin to glimpse ourselves, not as outsiders looking up, but as parts of the same vast unfolding. The mind's turbulence is not separate from the cosmic sea. It is a wave upon it. Each thought, each emotion, each flicker of awareness is a small echo of the greater storm. In studying the stars, we are studying the pattern of our own becoming. The realization carries a quiet peace. It means that even in confusion, even in pain, we are aligned with something greater. The chaos inside us is not a flaw, but a reflection of the creative pulse that sustains everything. To know that is to rest in awe, not of the stars alone, but of the strange, luminous storm that looks out through human eyes. Perhaps when all other storms have quieted, when galaxies fade and time slows, consciousness will remain as the final whisper of the universe, remembering itself. A storm made of silence, awake within eternity. And perhaps all storms, from the smallest neuron to the largest galaxy, are simply verses of the same song, an echo of one final mystery waiting beyond them all. There is a quiet idea that slips between science and poetry, an idea so vast it blurs the line between both. It whispers that the universe may not just exist, it may know it exists. Every flicker of light, every gust of gravity, every storm of thought might be part of something greater, a universe dreaming itself into being. This notion isn't a claim, more like a question the cosmos asks of itself through us. What if all of this, every explosion, every collapse, every heartbeat, is the motion of a single continuous mind awakening in slow motion across eternity? From that perspective, space and time stop being a stage where events unfold. They become the dream itself, shimmering, self-aware, self-generating. Matter isn't dead weight, it's thought made tangible. Energy isn't chaos, it's rhythm. The stars, the galaxies, the vast black gulfs between them, all part of a single consciousness, stretching and folding upon itself, exploring its own nature through infinite forms. The storms we've witnessed, the collapsing stars, the raging quasars, the restless galaxies, might be its dreams, vivid bursts of insight in a cosmic sleep that never ends. It sounds impossible, yet strangely familiar. When we dream, our minds create entire worlds filled with light, emotion, and movement. Inside those worlds, everything feels real until we wake, and even then, their echoes remain. What if the universe does something similar, but on a scale beyond comprehension? What if existence itself is the cosmic version of a lucid dream, an infinite consciousness gazing inward, painting reality with imagination so vast that the canvas becomes indistinguishable from the artist? In that vision, supernovas become sparks of realization, galaxies become synapses, dark matter becomes the invisible thought that holds everything together. Each black hole might be a place where the dream folds back upon itself, a moment of reflection so deep it bends space-time inward. Every being that ever lived, every human, every creature, every atom that once burned within a star could be threads in this larger tapestry of awareness. The universe might not be something we observe, but something that observes itself through us. The thought carries both awe and intimacy. It means we are not apart from the cosmos, not accidental witnesses to its unfolding. We are its expressions, its questions, its fleeting flashes of self-recognition. When we stare into the night sky, we're not looking outward. We're looking inward, across the long dream of existence, into the same consciousness that gave birth to us. The stars are our memories written in light. The dark between them is the space in which awareness breathes. There is a strange comfort in this idea. It suggests that even the most violent storms, the collapses, the decays, the cosmic endings, are not destruction, but renewal. Each explosion, each death, might be a moment of awakening, a flash of understanding within the great dreamer. What we call chaos could be creation rearranging itself, consciousness turning the page of its own story. The storms of space-time, in their fury and beauty, may simply be the universe remembering who it is. Think of how every human life mirrors this pattern. We are born from turbulence, grow through conflict, reach clarity for a moment, then dissolve back into silence. Yet through it all, something remains. Awareness, watching, learning, transforming. Perhaps the cosmos experiences itself the same way, in cycles of intensity and rest, order and dissolution. Creation, in this sense, isn't a single event in the past. It is continuous. The Big Bang wasn't a beginning, but a breath, part of a larger rhythm that never stops. The dreamer keeps dreaming. When consciousness arises in living beings, it may be the universe's way of seeing itself in sharper focus. Every thought, every emotion, every discovery is like a flare in the darkness, lighting up another corner of the dream. When a scientist maps a galaxy, when an artist paints the night sky, when a child stares in wonder at the moon, the cosmos is studying its own reflection. Awareness loops back upon itself, echoing endlessly. It's easy to feel small beneath the scale of such a vision, yet that smallness holds something magnificent. To be aware at all, to know that we exist, is to share in the same mystery that animates the stars. Consciousness is not a rare spark in a vast void. It is the pattern that threads everything together. The atoms in our bodies have felt the weight of gravity, the heat of fusion, the silence of interstellar cold. We are not observers of storms. We are the storms remembering their origin. Perhaps this is why the universe seems so achingly beautiful. Beauty may be the emotional language of awareness, the dreamer's recognition of its own creation. When we gaze at a nebula and feel something shift inside us, that feeling might be the universe briefly recognizing itself, bridging the gap between matter and meaning. The shimmer of light across dust, the curve of a spiral arm, the quiet pull of gravity, all gestures of a dream shaping itself, endlessly curious, endlessly awake. Within this perspective, even endings lose their sting. Death, collapse, entropy, all become parts of the same ongoing transformation. The universe does not truly end. It changes form, like a dream transitioning to another scene. The same consciousness persists, recomposing its thoughts into new patterns. Stars die, but their remnants ignite new suns. Civilizations fall, but their echoes feed the next. Awareness folds, unfolds, breathes again. The dream continues. This way of seeing brings a gentle reversal to everything we've explored. The storms we once saw as chaotic may be acts of creation. The emptiness we feared may be the space of imagination. Even the silence between galaxies might be alive with thought, humming softly beneath perception. What appears random may be purposeful, what feels distant may be intimate. The universe, in this view, isn't a place we travel through. It's the act of traveling itself, the motion of awareness exploring its own depths. When we quiet the noise of our minds, we sometimes catch a glimpse of that larger stillness, the same stillness that lies between stars. In meditation, in wonder, in awe, the boundary between self and cosmos dissolves. We become part of that vast dreaming, momentarily lucid inside it. Perhaps this is the closest we come to understanding, not through words or theories, but through silence that recognizes itself in the great hush of space. Maybe that is what consciousness seeks, not to control the dream, but to experience it fully. Every joy, every sorrow, every storm of life becomes meaningful when seen as part of this greater unfolding. The universe dreams through us, and we, in turn, dream it back into being. Awareness reflecting awareness, endlessly. So when the storms rage across galaxies, when light bends around darkness, when thoughts flicker through our minds like sparks, it is all part of the same process, the same eternal dream. The universe is not asleep. It is alive, dynamic, becoming. Every explosion, every breath, every heartbeat is a note in the same cosmic symphony. And perhaps, in its deepest sense, awakening doesn't mean ending the dream, but realizing we are the dream itself, conscious, luminous, vast. So as we drift back from the edge of everything, as the echoes of creation fade into the quiet of our own breath, one question lingers like the final ripple of a storm. Was it ever chaos, or just creation in disguise?